Okay, we're going to head into what is going to end up being part 2 of this video, and we're going to be starting up at step 24, where we're beginning to create what is called a mask layer. So hopefully you have, and I'm just sort of reviewing where I left off, 2 graphics in your library. One is little and one is star. Okay, so I'm basically all the way up until step 25. Okay, so we're going to be creating a mask layer, and I want to sort of briefly describe, before we sort of see what this is, what a mask layer is. A mask layer is a layer that allows a certain type of graphic, and in this case it's going to be our star. It's going to allow certain things to show through via the combination of 2 different graphics. Now I think it's going to be easier to see once we sort of head into what this thing looks like. So let's head in, and you'll start to understand what this masked, and I always sort of say masked, meaning masked, and mask layers do. Okay, so we're going to create a new layer, and it's going to be called star masked. So I'm going to hit this. Okay, and then I'm going to create even another new layer. I'm going to call this star mask. Okay. Now, if you haven't already done so, we're going to import the stars.jpg file. I did that at the beginning of the exercise, and I did mention, so hopefully you have that in there. Now, on the star mask layer, okay, this is the star mask layer. See, I have masked and masked. We're going to create a motion tween with the star graphic from frame 150 to 220. Okay, and what's going to happen is it's going to go from middle left to middle right. So it's going to go from here to here. Okay, now I want to go up to frame, what did I say, 150. Okay, and I'm going to create, insert a keyframe, and I'm going to grab star, and I'm going to put it right there. Okay, and I want to go up to frame 220. And I'm going to create a motion tween, and then move this guy across from left to right. Okay, so what we've done is we've done step 28 on the star mask layer, create a motion tween with the star graphic from 150 to 220. So pretty straightforward. Okay. Now, it says double click the layer icon all the way to the right of the star mask. Okay. Now, this is something we haven't done before, and it's actually on the left. Double click on the layer icon all the way to the left of the star mask layer. This is this little guy, and a window will appear where you choose what type of layer this is. Okay. So I'm going to double click here, and we get what's called the layer properties. Okay. So it's not on the right; it's on the left. Okay, and we haven't dealt with this yet. And what this does is it denotes what type of layer something is. And in order for us to create this mask and masked thing, we need to denote what type of layer it is. Okay, and just as our layer says it's a star mask, we need to go into the type and choose mask. Okay, so review step 29. Double click the layer icon on the star mask layer, and a window should appear where you choose this layer to be a mask layer. Okay, so we're going to click OK, and I want you to look what happens over here. Okay, it's going to sort of look like something else. Okay, it gets a new little icon over here that is sort of a rectangle with a circle through the middle. That's the sort of generic mask sort of logo or icon that's often used in something like Photoshop. Okay. Now, on the star masked layer, and here we are at step 30, we're going to insert a keyframe at 150. So I'm going to go up here, same keyframe or same frame that our star sort of starts moving across. We need to sort of create something for the star mask layer to mask. Okay, so it says on the star mask layer, insert a keyframe at 150, and then we're going to go up to 220, and we're just going to simply insert a frame. Okay, we're basically just creating some space for this graphic to live in. Now, it says, step 32, grab the stars.jpg image from the library and drop it onto the star mask layer so that it occupies frames 150 through 220. And then it says position this image so that it covers the entire stage. This is pretty easy. All I'm going to do is click on that 150, okay, and I want to make sure I'm on the star masked, okay, and I'm going to go to my stars.jpg that's inside my library, and I'm going to grab it and I'm going to put it down onto my stage. Okay, if you'll see, and I'm going to move up here into my timeline, you'll see that all the way up until frame 149, nothing is there. When we get into frames 150 and to 220, we need to make sure that stars.jpg thing is there. Okay. Okay. Now the last thing that we need to do is step 33. And this is where hopefully this relationship between the mask and the mast is going to make sense. So I'm going to double click on the layer icon on the star masked layer, and remember this is the layer where our stars.jpg lives, and I'm going to double click on that same sort of icon, and I want to make sure this is masked. Okay. You might have noticed that when we originally sort of did the star mask, the first one, masked with an ED wasn't sort of an option, okay? And it wasn't an option because we have to have a mask layer in order to have something that is being masked, okay? And remember, and I'm just sort of reiterating the definition of this thing, a mask is a layer that sort of lets something show through, okay? The mast is what is showing through. So in this case, our star is going to let the star graphic shine through in the background. But I need to denote that this star layer is a masked layer. So I'm going to choose masked, and I'm going to click OK. And you'll notice up here that your layer icon becomes different. It's a sort of different version of that mask icon, and you'll also notice that tucks in and it sort of moves to the right, and what that does is it sort of denotes the relationship between these two things. This is sort of on top of, this is where the word star, that. Okay, so before we move on to adding sound to our movie, which is going to be the last thing we do in this video, let's take a look at this. Let's sort of see what we've done in terms of this masked and masked. So we have twinkle, twinkle, pardon my singing, little, and then here comes star, and you'll notice that star obviously has that sort of star graphic showing through. So we'll see one more time. Twinkle, twinkle. These are very simple motion tweens, and then we have star. Notice you don't see the entire stars.jpg image. We only see the word star moving across that. So this is an interesting way to sort of incorporate imagery into your text, so that your text isn't just sort of static graphics. Okay. Now we're going to move on to sound. This is the sort of second part of this video, and the sort of end of this basic tutorial on text or exercise on text. So step 34 says import to the library a sound file called twinkle.wave. I've uploaded actually an MP3. I've noticed over the years that different computers, different systems, depending on what you're using, might like an MP3, it might like a wave. So I've uploaded both of those. I'm going to be using the wave here. Okay. So it says create a new layer called Twinkle Sound 1. Okay, so you see how important it is to, whoops, don't create the new layer while you're inside that masked situation, okay, because it'll sort of create a new masked or masked layer. This is going to be a simple layer, so I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to call this Twinkle Sound 1. I'm going to pull this down here just so sound's on the bottom. I'm going to create another layer called Twinkle Sound 2. So you see once we start adding sound, masked layers, it's super important that we keep our layers organized. Okay. Now it says click on frame 1 of the Twinkle Sound 1 layer. Okay, so I'm going to move. Whoops, I'm going to move back here. Okay. And it says grab the twinkle .wave from the library and simply drop it onto the stage. This is a very, very easy way to work with sound. Now, what we're basically doing is I'm syncing up Twinkle Sound 1 with Twinkle 1, the motion tween. So it sort of starts to enter on the frame 1. Okay, so I'm going to click on that first keyframe. I'm going to grab twinkle.wave here, and you simply have to click, hold, and drop. Okay, you won't see anything happen on the stage. You will, however, see some fun little, basically EQ or equalizer sort of graphics appear in your timeline, or in that timeline, and that's denoting that it's there. Okay, now the next thing it says is insert a keyframe at frame 60 on Twinkle Sound 2. You sort of see where we're going with this. This is sort of lining up Twinkle, Twinkle, the sort of second twinkle, with the second Twinkle sound. So I'm going to insert a keyframe here and basically do the same thing. Grab the twinkle from the library and drop it onto the stage there. Okay, do that, and we'll see the same sort of graphic sort of appear here. Okay, now that's a very, very simple sound. So you'll see in two little exercises here we have a fairly complicated file, and I can't stress enough the organization of that file, the organization of those layers, because we're doing some different things here. We're not just moving graphics around. We have a mask layer, a masked layer, we have sound, etc. Okay, so since I have a minute or two here, let's test this movie, and you will probably even hear my little twinkle sounds coming through the speakers. So here we go. There's twinkle, there's the second twinkle, and there's little, and then star. Okay, so we'll hear twinkle come again. Twinkle, twinkle, okay, little, and here comes our star mask layer. Okay, so that's simple sound. That's mask layers, and hopefully this is going to tickle your brains a little bit in terms of how to deal with your Project 2 text files. Okay, we have two more exercises. These are a little more simple, and they are effects that we can sort of use on text. One is going to be using the blur filter, and one is going to be creating 3D text. So that's it for this one, and you'll probably head into Blur 3D next.